The massive ship appeared silently over New York City one clear morning in May 2087. It hung in the air like a silver teardrop, reflecting sunlight across the skyline. No weapons fired. No demands were made. It simply waited. Commander Alan Winters stood on the roof of the United Nations building, binoculars pressed to his eyes. His uniform felt too tight around his neck as he watched smaller vessels detach from the main ship. "Are we ready for this?" asked Samantha Brooks. She smoothed her navy blue diplomatic uniform and checked her translator device one last time. Alan lowered his binoculars. "No one's ever ready for first contact, Sam." The alien delegation landed precisely where Earth's governments had designated. No mistakes, no confusion. They had clearly been watching and learning Earth's languages for some time. Ambassador Xorlath emerged first. It walked on 4 legs with 2 upper limbs that ended in 7-fingered hands. Its skin shimmered blue-green under the sun, and a breathing apparatus covered what Alan assumed was its face. "Welcome to Earth," Samantha said, stepping forward with her hand extended, then quickly withdrawing it when she remembered the briefing on possible contamination protocols. The alien's translator buzzed. "We bring greetings from the Galactic Council. 17 sentient species united in peace and mutual advancement." Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered urgently into microphones. This moment would be remembered for centuries. 3 days later, Alan and Samantha sat in a secure conference room beneath the UN building. Representatives from every major Earth nation filled the seats around them. Ambassador Xorlath displayed holographic images of beautiful alien worlds, advanced technologies, and medical marvels beyond human imagination. "The Council offers Earth full membership," Xorlath said. "You will receive technology, trade agreements, and protection. But first, you must sign the War Prohibition Treaty." The room fell silent. "What exactly does this treaty entail?" asked the Secretary General. Xorlath's breathing apparatus made a whistling sound. "Warfare has been outlawed in Council space for over 700 cycles, approximately 3,000 of your Earth years. No member species may maintain military forces, develop weapons, or engage in armed conflict of any kind." Alan felt his stomach tighten. He exchanged glances with the Joint Chiefs representative across the table. "And if we refuse?" the American president asked. "Then we cannot offer membership," Xorlath said simply. "The Council will not risk introducing a warlike species into our peaceful society." That night, Alan found Samantha on the building's observation deck, staring at the alien ship still hovering above the city. "They think we're barbarians," she said without turning around. Alan leaned against the railing. "Maybe we are. Human history isn't exactly peaceful. But to have no military at all, how do they handle conflicts?" "Ambassador Xorlath explained that to me earlier," Alan said. "They use debate, economic sanctions, or at worst, ceremonial duels between representatives." Samantha shook her head. "And that works?" "For them, yes. Most Council species evolved as prey animals, not predators. They don't have our instincts for territorialism or aggression. Do you think we can do it? Just give up warfare?" Alan watched distant lights shimmer on the alien vessel. "I don't know, but I think we need to try. What they're offering: medical advances, clean energy, faster than light travel, it could transform humanity." The next morning, Earth's representatives reconvened. After 12 hours of heated debate, they reached a compromise. Earth would sign a modified version of the treaty, agreeing to a probationary period of 5 years. As the documents were finalized, Alan noticed Ambassador Xorlath watching him closely. Its breathing seemed faster than normal. "Is something wrong, Ambassador?" Alan asked. "No, Commander. I am simply curious. Your species agrees so readily to abandon warfare, yet your pulse rate indicates stress. Your pupil dilation suggests uncertainty." Alan smiled thinly. "Change is always difficult, even good change." Xorlath made a gesture Alan couldn't interpret. "Indeed, The Council has high hopes for humanity's contribution to galactic peace. As the alien returned to its delegation, Samantha moved beside Alan. "Did you see how it was studying you?" she whispered. Alan nodded. "They're afraid of us, Sam. I think they've been afraid since they first discovered Earth." "So this treaty is what? A leash?" "Maybe. Or maybe it's their way of giving us a chance." Alan watched as Earth's leaders signed the documents that would forever change humanity's future. "I guess we'll find out." 6 months after first contact, hundreds of humans had visited alien worlds while alien diplomats studied Earth. The cultural exchange program was in full swing, bringing new discoveries each day. Dr. Olivia Miller walked through the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council's Central Museum on Selnar Prime. The building stretched for miles, filled with art and artifacts from 17 different species. As a xenoanthropologist, this was her dream come true. "Your species moves very quickly," said her guide, a tall, willowy alien named Elith. "Most new members take years before traveling so widely among Council worlds." Olivia smiled. "Humans are naturally curious." "Perhaps too curious," Elith murmured, leading her toward a new exhibit. That same day, Lieutenant Frank Delgado demonstrated basic self-defense techniques to a group of fascinated Morillian scholars at the Earth Embassy gym. The cat-like aliens watched with wide eyes as Frank flipped his partner onto a mat. "This is merely defensive training," Frank explained as his audience flinched. "We're not trying to hurt each other." A Morillian raised a furry hand. "But why train for physical conflict at all? The Council has mediators for all disputes." Frank wiped sweat from his forehead. "Old habits, I guess. Humans have trained this way for thousands of years." Later, Frank described the encounter to Olivia over dinner in the embassy cafeteria. "They looked at me like I was some kind of monster for knowing how to throw a punch." Olivia nodded thoughtfully. "I've been studying Council species evolutionary history. Most of them evolved as prey animals, not predators. They never developed our fight or flight responses. So they just had the flight part." Frank asked, spearing a piece of alien vegetable with his fork. "Basically, their instinct was always to run or hide, not to stand and fight. It shaped their entire civilization." The next morning, Olivia met with Commander Winters, who had arrived to check on the cultural exchange program. They walked through the embassy gardens, speaking quietly. "I think we're missing something important here," Olivia said. "The Council species are physically afraid of conflict. It's not just a cultural preference, it's hardwired into their biology." Alan frowned. "That would explain the reaction to our military history museums." Ambassador Exorlath nearly collapsed when viewing the World War II exhibit. "There's more," Olivia continued. "Yesterday, a Xelnari scholar accidentally accessed restricted military archives. The footage of Desert Storm made him physically ill." Alan stopped walking. "This complicates things. If they're biologically predisposed to fear conflict, then they may never truly understand humans," Olivia finished. "And what they don't understand, they'll fear." That evening, while most humans slept, Samantha Brooks received an urgent message from her Council contacts. She found Alan in the embassy's secure communication room. "The Council is debating whether humans are too dangerous to join the galactic community," she said without preamble. Alan looked up from his screens. "Based on what?" "We followed every rule they've set. Apparently, some Council members have been monitoring our cultural displays, training sessions, even our entertainment. They're concerned about our inherent aggression." "We've been completely transparent," Alan argued. Samantha sighed. "It may not matter. I've been doing some research of my own. The reason the Council banned warfare wasn't just philosophical. The last major galactic war ended with the extinction of 3 entire species." Alan's expression darkened. "When?" "About 3,000 years ago, right before the War Prohibition Treaty was signed." Alan moved to the window, watching the twin moons rise over the alien city. "So this isn't just about keeping the peace. It's about survival trauma on a galactic scale." The council races aren't just afraid of war, Samantha said quietly. They're afraid of extinction. And now they've invited humans, predators with a long history of warfare, into their midst. They want us to change our nature, Alan said, but I'm not sure we can. Or should. Samantha joined him at the window. There's something else. A few sources mention species on the galactic rim who refuse to sign the treaty. They're not part of the council, but they still exist. Other predator species. Possibly. We should find out. Alan nodded slowly. If we're going to survive here, we need allies who understand us. And perhaps the council needs to understand that sometimes being able to fight isn't a weakness, it's a strength. The small human ship moved quietly through the stars at the edge of council space. Commander Alan Winters stood on the bridge, watching the unfamiliar constellations. Their mission wasn't exactly forbidden, but it wasn't officially approved either. We're approaching the border, said Lieutenant Gray Harris from the pilot's seat. The Vral homeworld should be 6 hours beyond that. Alan nodded. Any sign of council patrols? None, sir. They'd rarely come out this far. Samantha Brooks joined them on the bridge, reviewing data on her tablet. According to our intelligence, the Vral have been watching humanity for decades. They know we're coming. The Vral homeworld looked harsh and beautiful from orbit. Red deserts, blue seas, and sprawling cities. As they descended to the surface, Alan saw massive structures that looked like defensive walls surrounding the settlements. They're prepared for attacks, Samantha whispered. Look at those fortifications. Their landing pad was inside a military compound. Armed guards waited for them. Tall, reptilian beings with scales that shifted color in the sunlight. They stood upright on powerful legs, their eyes tracking every movement of the human visitors. An older Vral stepped forward. Commander Winters, welcome to Vraltech. I am General Score. Alan extended his hand in the human greeting, surprised when the alien mimicked the gesture perfectly. Thank you for receiving us, General. We have been expecting you, Score said. Ever since your species joined the council, we knew you would eventually seek us out. General Score led them through corridors lined with what appeared to be weapons and battle trophies. Unlike the council chambers with their soft curves and calming colors, Vral architecture featured sharp angles and practical designs. Your people have been watching us, Alan asked as they entered a large meeting room. Of course, you are like us, predators in a galaxy of prey. Score gestured to seats around a table. We were curious how long you would tolerate the council's restrictions. Samantha leaned forward. The War Prohibition Treaty, you mean? The general made a sound like a harsh laugh. A treaty written by prey animals who never understood the need for defense. Yes. Holographic displays activated around them, showing images of Earth, human military ceremonies, and spaceship designs. You evolved as we did, Score continued. To hunt, to protect territory, to fight when necessary. He touched a control, and the images changed to show a different alien species, insectoid with multiple limbs and armored exoskeletons. The Krekthar horde, he said grimly. They live beyond council space, and they have been watching, preparing, waiting. Alan studied the images closely. Waiting for what? For weakness. Score's scales darkened. The council has been at peace for 3,000 years. They have forgotten how to fight. They have no defenses, no warriors, no will to resist. And the Krekthar? Samantha asked. They are coming. Soon. We Vral have been preparing for centuries, building defenses, training fighters. But we are few, and they are many. Alan exchanged glances with Samantha. Why hasn't the council been warned? We have tried. They dismiss our warnings as barbaric fearmongering. They refuse to believe any species would choose violence when peace is offered. Score's voice lowered. They do not understand that some predators see peace only as weakness. Later, as the humans prepared to leave, General Score pulled Alan aside. Your people have something the council needs, though they do not know it. What's that? The warrior spirit, the will to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Score placed a data crystal in Alan's hand. Take this. It contains our intelligence on Krekthar movements. Perhaps your people will listen where the council would not. The journey back to council space was quiet, each human lost in thought. As they approached the border, alarms suddenly blared. Council patrol ships approaching. Greg announced, "They're ordering us to stop for inspection." Samantha looked at Alan with concern. "They know where we've been." Alan pocketed the Vral data crystal. We knew this might happen. When they docked at the council station, security officers were waiting. A tall Zelneri official stepped forward. "Commander Winters, Diplomat Brooks, the council has called for an inquiry regarding your unauthorized contact with non-member species." Alan straightened his uniform. "We'll answer their questions." As they were escorted away, Samantha whispered, "What if the Vral are right? What if the Krekthar are really coming?" Alan kept his voice low. "Then the council will have to choose between their principles and their survival, and humanity will have to decide where we stand." The council inquiry lasted 4 days. Alan and Samantha sat through hours of questions about their visit to the Vral homeworld. They answered truthfully, but said nothing about the Krekthar warning or the data crystal. On the 5th morning, they were cleared of serious violations, but given an official reprimand. As they left the hearing chamber, a message arrived on Samantha's communication device. "A council science vessel has gone silent," she told Alan quietly. It was near the outer rim, studying a nebula. Alan frowned. "Accident. Unclear. But it's in the same sector the Vral warned us about." 2 days later, the council held an emergency meeting. Representatives from all 17 member species gathered in the great circular chamber. Ambassador Kaxorlath spoke from the center platform. "The science vessel Stellar Seeker has been lost with all 86 crew members. Initial data suggests a possible attack, but we have no confirmation." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The word attack was rarely spoken here. "This is concerning," said the Morillian representative, "but we should not jump to conclusions. Space is dangerous. Many natural phenomena could explain this loss." Most council members nodded in agreement. Only a few seemed truly worried. Alan leaned toward Samantha in the human section. "They don't want to believe it could be an attack." "Can you blame them? Their society has known peace for thousands of years." After the meeting, a small blue alien approached them in the hallway. "Humans, a word, please." They followed him to a quiet alcove. "I am Trellix, representative of the Nilarian people. Some of us are concerned about recent events." "The missing ship?" Alan asked. Trellix glanced around nervously. "Not just one ship. 3 outposts on our outer colonies have gone dark in the past month. The council leadership is keeping it quiet to prevent panic." Samantha's eyes widened. "Why are you telling us this?" "Because your species understands danger. You prepare for it. You face it." Trellix's voice shook slightly. "We need that now." Later that night, Alan met with the human delegation in a secure room. He placed the Vral data crystal on the table. "The Krekthar are real, and they're already here. The council won't acknowledge the threat, but we need to investigate." Navy Captain Kate Donovan spoke up. "My team can do it. Small ship, minimal crew. We can get in and out quickly." "This goes against the council's rules," warned the political officer. "Sometimes rules need to be broken to save lives," Kate replied. 1 week later, Kate's ship approached the last known location of the missing science vessel. They ran dark, sensors passive only. "Slow approach," Kate ordered. "No transmissions." Through the view screen, they saw debris floating in space. Pieces of the science vessel were scattered across a wide area. "Get us closer to that large section," Kate said, pointing to a chunk of hull. As they moved closer, the sensor officer gasped. "Captain, I'm detecting organic material on the hull." and bite marks. Kate's face paled. Record everything. We need evidence the council can't ignore. They moved carefully through the debris field, documenting the destruction. Suddenly, the tactical officer shouted. Multiple contacts. Large ships appearing from behind the moon. On the view screen, massive insectoid vessels emerged from hiding. Their hulls were dark and organic-looking, covered in spines and sensory appendages. Evasive action. Kate ordered. Get us out of here now. Their small ship darted away as the Krekthar vessels gave chase. They barely escaped, jumping to faster-than-light travel just as enemy weapons fire streaked past them. 3 days later, Kate presented her findings to the human delegation. The images showed clear evidence of the attack and the Krekthar ships. It's worse than we thought, she said grimly. Based on their movements, they've already taken at least 6 outer colony worlds. They're methodically harvesting council space, starting from the edges. Alan rubbed his face tiredly. The council still won't listen. They called our evidence human warmongering and propaganda. Samantha stood up. Then we need to find allies within the council. Someone must see the truth. Some already do, said a voice from the doorway. Trellix entered with representatives from 3 other species. We've been watching. Learning. We know what's coming. He looked at the humans with large, solemn eyes. Will you help us prepare for war, even if it means breaking the treaty that brought you into our community? Alan looked around at the human delegation, then back at the aliens who had come seeking help. Yes, he said simply. We will. 3 weeks passed as secret meetings continued between humans and concerned council members. Then everything changed. The Krekthar attacked Proxima Colony, a major settlement with over 12 million inhabitants. Videos of the invasion reached the council before any official reports. The images showed insectoid warriors swarming through streets, capturing civilians and destroying buildings. The council chamber erupted in panic. Representatives shouted over each other, while the leadership tried to maintain order. We must evacuate the outer colonies, cried one. We should attempt communication with these beings, suggested another. Perhaps we can offer them resources in exchange for peace, a third proposed. Alan watched from the human section, his face grim. The council had no concept of how to deal with an enemy that wanted conquest, not compromise. They're going to keep talking while more worlds fall, Samantha whispered. Admiral Linda Reyes, recently arrived from Earth, nodded. That's why Earth has made its decision. The next day, the United Earth government announced that it would break the War Prohibition Treaty to defend humanity and innocent Council species. The declaration was broadcast throughout Council space. Humanity cannot stand by while innocent beings are slaughtered, said the Earth President. We have activated our defense forces and are deploying the first expeditionary fleet to establish a defensive line. The Council leadership immediately called an emergency session. Ambassador Torlath addressed the humans directly. This action violates the treaty you signed. Earth could face expulsion from the Council. Admiral Reyes stood. With respect, Ambassador, expulsion is preferable to extinction. The Krekthar have already taken 8 worlds. How many more will fall while the Council debates? War is not our way, Sorlath insisted. Then let it be our way, Reyes replied firmly. Let humans fight so others don't have to. The room fell silent as her words sank in. 3 days later, human warships arrived at Torval Station, a major hub near the advancing Krekthar front. Council species watched in awe as military vessels moved into defensive positions. Marines established security checkpoints. Weapons platforms were deployed. Admiral Reyes called a meeting with local officials. We need to organize evacuations from threatened systems, she explained, and establish supply lines for our forces. A Xelnari administrator looked confused. But how will you stop the Krekthar? There are so many of them. We won't try to match their numbers, Reyes said. She activated a holographic display showing battle plans. We'll use tactical retreats, defensive perimeters, and strategic strikes. These are concepts your people may not be familiar with. You speak of warfare as if it were a science, said a horrified council member. It is, Rise replied simply. One humanity has studied for thousands of years. Word spread quickly. Many council species were disgusted by human methods, but fear of the Krekthar was stronger than their distaste for warfare. Refugee ships began arriving at Earth by the thousands as people fled the outer colonies. In a surprising development, the Vral contacted Earth directly. We will join your alliance, General Skor announced. Our warriors stand ready. Humans and Vral worked together to establish a defensive line across 3 star systems. Meanwhile, Council worlds began the difficult process of converting civilian infrastructure for war production under human guidance. Dr. Olivia Miller found herself teaching alien engineers about military logistics. Your food processing facilities can be modified to produce combat rations, she explained. Your passenger ships can be retrofitted to transport troops. Many aliens were reluctant, but fear drove them to accept human help. Some even volunteered to train as support personnel. In the Earth Embassy, Alan met with Samantha and Admiral Rice. The Council is officially condemning our actions, Samantha reported, but privately, more representatives approach us every day, offering resources. Will it be enough? Alan asked. Admiral Rice studied the strategic display showing Krekthar advancement. It has to be. The defensive line will be ready just before they reach Proxima Prime. That's where we make our stand. And if we fail? Samantha asked quietly. Alan's expression was solemn. Then humanity will have broken the peace for nothing. And the Council's fear of warfare will have been justified. The human base on Proxima Colony buzzed with activity. In makeshift training grounds, human military advisors taught alien volunteers basic combat skills. Most had never held a weapon before. Lieutenant Frank Delgado demonstrated how to take cover properly to a group of nervous Selnari. Stay low. Use solid objects to protect yourself. Remember, if you can see the enemy, they can see you. The aliens mimicked his movements awkwardly. Their bodies weren't built for quick dives or combat roles, but they tried their best. Why do we practice retreating? Asked one Selnari. Isn't that giving up? Tactical retreat is not giving up, Frank explained patiently. It's moving to a better position. Sometimes surviving is winning. Across the base, Dr. Olivia Miller worked with Council engineers to convert civilian factories for military production. The concept was foreign to them. Your medical fabricators can make combat trauma kits with minor adjustments, she told them. Your communication devices need stronger encryption. An engineer looked troubled. These changes feel wrong. We built these things to help people, not for war. They will still help people, Olivia said gently, just in a different way now. In orbit above the colony, Admiral Rice coordinated with fleet captains. Human ships formed the backbone of the defense, but vessels from 6 different Council species had joined them, hastily fitted with weapons systems. The Krekthar will arrive within 48 hours, Rice told her officers. Intel suggests at least 30 capital ships with fighter support. Captain Eric Mason studied the tactical display. They outnumber us 3-1. Numbers aren't everything, Rice replied. We have better positioning and surprise. They don't expect resistance. The next day, as final preparations were made, Commander Alan Winters walked through a civilian shelter. Families from various species huddled together, frightened but resolute. Children from different worlds played together, unaware of the danger approaching. Alan spotted Samantha talking with a group of Council officials. Her face looked strained. How are they holding up? He asked quietly when they had a moment alone. They're scared, she said, but something interesting is happening. Council psychologists are documenting what they call a new phenomenon among their people. What's that? The will to fight, she said. They've never seen it before in their species. Individuals volunteering to defend others, preparing to face danger instead of fleeing from it. Ellen watched a group of Morillian volunteers receiving basic first aid training. They're learning from us. Yes, but not just how to fight. Dr. Miller identified something important about how humans wage war compared to the ancient conflicts that traumatized the Council. What's that? We fight to end conflicts quickly and minimize suffering, not prolong it. The wars that led to the treaty were about extermination, not victory. Their conversation was interrupted by alarms. Admiral Rice's voice came over the communication system. All personnel to battle stations. Krekthar forces approaching earlier than expected. What followed was chaos for those who had never experienced battle before. Human commanders issued calm, precise orders while Council volunteers moved to their assigned positions, many trembling visibly. The first attack came from orbit. Krekthar ships fired on the colony's outer defenses. Human and allied vessels moved to intercept, engaging the enemy in space. On the ground, Frank organized his alien trainees. Remember your training. Stay in formation. Support each other. The sky lit up with explosions as the space battle raged. Then came the ground assault. Drop ships carrying Krekthar warriors breached the perimeter in multiple locations. Alan joined a defensive position with a mixed group of humans and Council volunteers. The first wave of insectoid warriors charged their barricade. Many alien volunteers froze in terror at the sight. Hold the line. Alan shouted over the weapons fire. Together. A young Selnari next to him found his courage and raised his weapon. Others followed suit. They fought side by side with the humans, overcoming their instinctual fear. Hours later, the battle ended. The colony still stood. The Krekthar had been repelled with heavy losses. Footage of the battle spread throughout Council space. Humans fighting alongside aliens, protecting each other, displaying a controlled savagery that both terrified and inspired those who watched. For the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy witnessed warfare waged not for conquest or extermination, but for protection. The victory at Proxima Colony changed everything. For the first time, the Krekthar advance had been stopped. More Council worlds sent ships and volunteers to join the human-led defense. Even the Council leadership, while still officially condemning warfare, secretly provided resources and intelligence. Admiral Reyes gathered her command staff in the war room of her flagship. Maps and holographic displays showed Krekthar positions across the sector. "They're regrouping," she said, pointing to a cluster of enemy ships near a dead star. "This gives us an opportunity. It's time for Operation Hornet's Nest." Captain Eric Mason studied the plan. "We're deliberately drawing them to us. That's risky." "It's necessary," Reyes replied. "We can't match them ship for ship across the entire front. We need to choose where we fight." 3 days later, human and allied ships began a calculated retreat from key positions, leaving just enough defenders to make the targets tempting. The Krekthar took the bait and moved their main fleet toward what they perceived as weaknesses in the human line. "They're following the exact path we predicted," reported a sensor officer on Reyes's command ship. "All ships maintain position," Reyes ordered. "Let them come to us." When the Krekthar fleet entered the Talos system, they found themselves caught in a carefully planned trap. Hidden Allied ships emerged from behind moons and asteroid fields. Automated weapon platforms activated. The prepared battleground gave the defenders every advantage. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Mason led a daring mission. While the main fleets engaged, his small strike team boarded a Krekthar command ship. "Stay tight," he told his team as they cut through the alien vessel's hull. "We need their navigation data and command protocols." The boarding party fought their way through narrow corridors filled with insectoid warriors. The aliens were fierce but disorganized, unused to enemies who would dare to board their ships. Mason reached the command center with half his team. "Download everything," he ordered a tech specialist. "We need to understand how they communicate with each other." Alarms blared as more Krekthar warriors converged on their position. "Sir, we've got the data, but they've cut off our escape route," reported his second-in-command. Mason looked at the ship schematics they'd captured. "There's another way, through their engine section." The team fought a running battle back through the ship. In the engine room, they discovered something unexpected. A central communication node linking the ship to the entire Krekthar fleet. "This is it," said the tech specialist excitedly. "Their coordination nexus. Each ship has one, and they're all connected." "Can we disrupt it?" Mason asked. "Yes, but someone would need to stay behind to upload the virus." Mason made his decision instantly. "Get the team to the escape pods. I'll handle this." Despite protests, Mason ordered his team to leave. Alone, he fought off Krekthar warriors while uploading a disruptive code into their communication system. The escape pods launched just before explosions rocked the enemy ship. Back on the flagship, Admiral Reyes received word of Mason's sacrifice and the captured data. "Get that information to our scientists immediately," she ordered, her voice tight with emotion. Within hours, Council scientists working with human military strategists identified a critical vulnerability in the Krekthar network. "Their ships operate like a hive," explained a Selnari scientist. "They require constant communication to coordinate. Captain Mason's data shows us how to disrupt that entire network." Admiral Reyes nodded grimly. "Then we need to hit their main coordination nexus. Where is it located?" The scientist pointed to a system deep in Krekthar-controlled space. "Here, but it's heavily defended. It would be a one-way mission." Surprisingly, volunteers came forward from every species: humans, Vral, and even council races. A joint strike force was assembled, including members from 12 different species. As they prepared to depart, Alan found Samantha in the memorial garden. A hologram of Captain Mason had been added to the monuments honoring the fallen. "I never thought I'd see council species volunteering for combat missions," Samantha said quietly. Alan watched as a group of mixed-species fighters trained together nearby. "They're learning that some things are worth fighting for. If this works, if we can cripple the Krekthar coordination network, we might actually win this war." "And then what?" Alan asked. "Does the galaxy go back to pretending warfare doesn't exist? Or do they finally understand why humans never gave it up entirely?" Samantha looked thoughtful. "Perhaps they'll find a middle path. One where fighting isn't forbidden, just reserved for when it's truly needed." 1 year after the war ended, representatives from all council species gathered on Earth for a historic summit. The Grand Hall of the United Earth Government headquarters was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Commander Alan Winters, now promoted to admiral, stood at the back of the room. He watched as alien diplomats mingled with human military officers, no longer afraid of what they represented. "Quite a change from our first meeting with the council," said a familiar voice. Samantha Brooks joined him, wearing the formal robes of her new position as Council High Representative. Alan nodded. "Back then, they wanted us to give up our military completely. Now they're here to talk about a new galactic defense force." At the center of the hall stood a simple monument, a piece of Krekthar's ship hull with the names of all who died in the final battle at the coordination nexus. The mission had succeeded, but at great cost. Without their central command structure, the Krekthar invasion had fallen apart, their ships scattered and eventually defeated. "It's time," Samantha said quietly. The room fell silent as she walked to the podium. Representatives from 17 council species, plus the Vral and humanity, turned to listen. 1 year ago, our worlds faced extinction. Samantha began. Today, we gather to ensure it never happens again. The War Prohibition Treaty served us well for 3,000 years, but it left us vulnerable. Today, we sign a new treaty. She held up a document for all to see. Warfare remains banned except for defensive purposes. No species may wage war for conquest or resources, but all will contribute to our collective defense. The signing ceremony was simple. Each species added their mark to the new treaty. Then Admiral Reyes stepped forward to present the structure of the new Galactic Defense Force. Humans would serve in key leadership positions, sharing their expertise with all member species. "We keep peace by being prepared for war," Samantha concluded in her keynote address. This is the lesson humanity has taught us. After the ceremony, Alan walked through a memorial garden outside the building. Stone markers honored those from all species who had fought together. An eternal flame burned at the center, a human military tradition now adopted by grateful alien worlds. General Score of the Vrol found him there. The Council species learned quickly, he observed. Already they speak of defense strategies and security protocols as if they had always known such things. They're adapting, Alan replied, just as we are. Across the galaxy, changes were happening. Council worlds maintained their focus on art, science, and peaceful cooperation, but now they also built defense systems and training facilities. Human military academies welcomed alien cadets. Vrol warriors taught alongside human instructors. On distant planets, alien children learned a new version of history, the story of how humans were once feared, then needed, and finally respected. They learned that fighting was sometimes necessary to protect what mattered most. In a quiet moment during the reception, Ambassador Xorlath approached Alan. I must admit, my people were wrong about yours. Commander, forgive me, Admiral Winters. How so? Alan asked. We saw your warrior nature as a flaw, something primitive to be overcome. We failed to understand that it was also a strength. Xorlath's breathing apparatus made a soft whistling sound. Your people fight not because you love violence, but because you love what you protect. As the day ended, Alan found Samantha on a balcony overlooking the celebration. What happens now? He asked. Now we build something new, she said. A galaxy that values peace but understands the need for strength. One that doesn't ban warfare, but channels it properly. They watched the sun setting over Earth, the first human world to join the stars, and now the center of a transformed galactic community. In the distance, a Vrol elder was speaking with a group of young aliens from different worlds. Though Alan couldn't hear the words, he knew the lesson being taught, the same one that all species now understood. The galaxy had feared human warfare and banned it, until they needed it. Now they had found the wisdom to use it properly, not as a first response, but as a last resort, not for conquest, but for protection. And in doing so, they had created a peace stronger than any treaty could ensure, a peace protected by those who understood the true cost of war.